Whoa, yeah, another video. Anyway, yeah, just posted a video on the economics channel. I don't know, sun is going to be a problem here. So yeah, I'll post a link to that below, I guess, just in case you missed it. But the theme is this idea of just getting to the basics. So I just talk a little bit about the basics of what happens when we exist as human beings and we attempt to interact with each other. What we're basically hoping to do is productively interact, and that isn't going to happen when a bunch of greedy, evil bastards own us. Anyway, you know, or running the show, or moving the game pieces, whatever the metaphor you want. But yeah, they're just fucking us. It's quite obvious when you look at it on a basic level. So anyway, back to our real world. You know, there's these people, you know, they keep arguing that there's something more. I mean, we hear it now again from Insipid Ham. She's just mimicking the old To Be Serious lines, like there's more to evolution. There's more than Darwin. There's more than Einstein. There's more. And it's just like, well, yeah, why don't you just say you're religious? I mean, why play this stupid game? I mean, I'm going to argue, and this even goes to sort of gray text with this objectivity thing. There's certain facts that we know now. They are facts. We know them. They're not mysterious anymore. They're not in doubt. Not credibly. The only people that can doubt it are the incredible. Okay? Incredible nonsense is the only alternative explanation for the fact of evolution. The fact that we can reduce it to a functionality of chemistry. Not an instrumentality of a master plan. No, it's not part of something bigger. It's part of something cruder and smaller. Okay, as much as we would like our consciousness to be part of a grand scheme and a brilliant idea, it's not. It's what evolution does when you give it 4 billion years and the right circumstance. This is what it did this time, and there's no mission statement. There's nothing to be accomplished. There's no car all revved up and waiting for us to show up to step into it and drive around the universe. Whatever accomplishment would come from that, I don't know. But none of that's going to happen. It's just a biological experiment, period. Being conducted without a doctor, without anybody in a white coat, without any mission statement, without any hope of accomplishment. That's all we've got here. And yeah, that, you know, and that we know, we can just kind of establish that. This is what a rational person understands. The irrational will say, oh, but no, well, consciousness can't be for no reason. That would be unsatisfying. And that's basically the argument. It would be unsatisfying. The truth is unsatisfying. But that's what it is. There's just no rational way to come up with a scheme for this. And to say an intelligence said, yes, it would be a good idea to run a 4 billion year experiment. You know, to create organisms possessed by a compulsion to behave, pretty routinely and predictably in pursuit of gratification of cardinal desires. But whatever, it's just, there's just no argument to be had here. And anything else you want to add is just arguing, it's just God of the gaps bullshit. The gaps are basically irrelevant. I mean, we can do the general description. The foundation for that general description is solid. And anything you want to say there's more, you want to say there's a crack over here or a scratch on the glass, and therefore we can speculate, we'll go ahead and do it, but it's bullshit. It's just inventing an excuse to ignore the truth. It's running from the obvious, and you're only going to do it because you're caught up in it, because your attachment, nothing more. And so that sort of goes to gray text. There's no default gray text. There's not like some argument you can make like, oh, the default is to believe nothing. Well, that's pretty much impossible, asshole. So yeah, the objective is to take all the facts that are laid out in front of us, all the choices, and which one makes the most sense. Which one has the most solid rational foundation. Which one is the least connected to something the human race might want to be true. Which one is the most difficult to taint with bias. And so, yeah, quite obviously, nobody wants it to be the truth, that their suffering is pointless, that their existence is quite futile, and that the game can't really be played to win. Yeah, so how is it possible that could be the prejudicial conclusion? No, it's just that one has, the only prejudice is that it has the preponderance of evidence behind it, and that all the other explanations have as their only meritorious, their only source of merit is because, like Christianity or some other bullshit, yeah, they basically told people believe it or we'll kill you. Yeah, that's how their claim to fame is merely a might makes right kind of bullshit. Or with these nihilistic philosophies, this idea of selfishness, for the win. Yeah, well, it seems quite obvious why people would want that, especially people who have. The haves love the idea that, yeah, we'll forget about ideas of fairness, and we'll forget about earning, and we'll forget about merit, and we'll just say, whoever's got the might is right, whoever's lucky is lucky, and yeah, we won't bother with that fairness and justice shit. So it's quite obvious those people are going to run from the truth for their own advantage. And their prejudice, their bias, their subjective sellout is quite obvious. But it's just stupid to keep arguing like there's some alternative besides choosing a philosophy. And if you're going to choose, I don't know, that's just copping out. Oh, it's all too mysterious, I can't draw a conclusion. Yeah, cop out. Because the default just goes back to some DNA bullshit. And that might be your comfort zone. And that's all it is. It's your comfort zone. Because that's your God. That's your gap filler. And so, of course, you're going to argue for that. It's very convenient, that you would use a subject like objectivity to basically say, you're not competent, you can't think, you can't possibly use your brain intellectually and understand your psychological biases and see past them. No, that's not possible. You can't even phrase a sentence acknowledging the existence of psychology. Yeah, you want to just keep trying to make people try to defeat their intelligence because the default is more of the same status quo crap that you have a reverence for. That is your God. That any piece of the pie is a piece of pie. That's all you're seeing because you're addicted. You can't let go of it. You can't imagine a universe without stupid gray texts flopping around, which is just, an obvious bias of yours. And you've conceded that bias, which makes your argument even more ludicrous. Like someone who concedes his bias has any authority to point any fingers about alternatives or what the truth might be. So, crock of shit there. So anyway, yeah, so the argument is that, look, you can spell out a simple truth here, that this is chemistry. Chemistry does this stuff. We understand quite thoroughly the dynamics of it. We understand the evolutionary progression. We understand why some things stay simple and why some things get complicated. And it has to do with exploiting niche environments. Being able to exploit, you have to evolve to eat a brontosaurus. You can't eat one if you don't evolve into a predator that can eat one. So there's piles of layers of a biosphere, and the only way to exploit the next layer, or the newest layer, is for you to become the newest layer. You have to become a new layer to eat the old layer. There's just no other way to do it. And there's all kinds of incentive for evolution to take you there, to give you a toolkit that will enable you to exploit that layer, that top layer. So obviously we have evolved. The instrumentality is infinitely understandable. It's not outside of our grasp. It's like I say, it's grotesquely obvious. I mean, you can't make it any simpler now. I mean, we have it pretty well spelled out. And if you're going to argue that there's some other magical, cosmic worms controlling our psychology, or quantum irregularities, none of that stuff is going to fit into any evolutionary model. So you might as well start talking about your Jehovah or something. Another dog. How you doing? Hey, pup. So there's people have to deal with what the facts are, and they're just trying to generate a better story, and that's all that's happening here. They want a better story. This story doesn't suit them. They don't like whatever, the pig in it. They don't like the shape of the sky, whatever the thing is. They don't like the characters. They don't like the way they move. So they're just going to rewrite it by inventing mystical elements, and they'll come up with some word for that, like existential or some other kind of bullshit, metaphysics, and it's just bullshit. It's all it is. It's just using an eraser, or just rewriting, adding paragraphs where you like. Just make it up because you don't like the shape of reality. It just doesn't suit your preference. Well, it doesn't suit my preference either. I don't like the fact that I have to face the prospect that the human race is going to do preposterously stupid things, in the next 2 or 3 decades. That horrendous suffering is going to be wasted. That the animal kingdom is going to be twisted and turned through that process. There's going to be blood, a lot of it, and it's all a big, giant waste of suffering and harm, merely because people won't accept our reality and make the best of it. People keep talking about, well, we got to make the best of it. Making the best of it is not rewriting the story. Making the best of it is not creating a lie so you can commit more of the same, so you can perpetuate the status quo. Perpetuating the status quo is not making the best of it. That's failure, because the status quo has us flying right over the fucking cliff. There's absolutely no evidence in anything. There's just no evidence that there's any reason to hope, even if the human race were to survive the next couple of decades, that there would be much of a future, just because of the mechanics of it. You can't keep birthing, and if you can stop population growth, you could end population growth. I mean, that's the game here. If you can do one, you can do the other. And you keep saying you can't do it. Well, if you can't do one, then you can't do the other. They're that close to each other. If you can get most of the people to be responsible, it's not that big a difference than making all the people responsible. Theoretically. So anyway, we're next. So anyway, yeah, so it is very annoying. People are adding complexity to find justification. And they do it in the economy, and they do it in real life. They create excuses to justify and defend what is the unjustifiable and the indefensible. It won't happen again. Well, yes, it fucking will. We can't have another Great Depression. Newsflash, you're going to. Because you don't understand what caused the first one, or the second, or the third. It might have been the fifth, actually, but it doesn't matter. You're going to do it again, because you keep learning the wrong lessons, because you keep reading your own fairy tales, because you keep rewriting the truth. Dear. Little deer. Young deer, say. I wouldn't like being called little. Alright, anyway, not a great video, but it's good enough. I'll have to do. Rough week. It's barely begun. Anyway, till next time. And such.